I took in a hitchhiker that turned out to be crazy. As in, legit crazy. I won't ever do that anymore, and hopefully, my experience will discourage you to do too. I would like to apologize in advance for my mistakes since I am not a native speaker. I'll try my best to tell this properly. I live in a foreign country and I don't know about your country's sanitary measures against the epidemic, but at the time, we were no longer confined. It happened in September of this year. I was driving from my parents' house to a friend's apartment near our college campus. It was an hour-and-a-half drive to there. We had plans to spend the week together after not seeing each other for months. Even though the incident is not related to my friends in any way, it just hit me how dangerous it actually was when I started telling them what had happened. I remember one of them saying this must have been the worst 45-minute drive of my life. I laughed at it back then, but it hits me now how true it was. I left quite later that day around 9 p.m. because I remember the sun had already set and I was going to arrive late, which I didn't like. But I was used to the road as I had often taken it. For some context, it was an hour-and-a-half drive and I would usually stop midway in a McDonald's parking lot to smoke a cigarette before carrying on. This is important for later in the story. I saw the hitchhiker not long after I left my parents' house. I had driven for 10 to 15 minutes or so when I saw him at the exit of a roundabout. It was a tall, slender guy with one of those tidy shoulder bags guys wear across their chest. I thought it was a guy in his 20s that had just been dropped off by his friends on his way back from a party or something, which was stupid, because it was still too early for a party to end. That's the first thought that I had, and I immediately felt sympathy and I stopped. I opened up the passenger window and asked where he was going. I realized right away that he was way older than I thought, at least in his 30s. He had a really pale face and the way he looked at me, honestly, it freaked me out. The guy was going in my direction to the town where I would stop midway to take a break. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. I just responded automatically that it was on my way and that he could open the door and get in. And the next 45 minutes of my life were the worst. I don't mean to be dramatic, but it really was hell. I knew right away that I had made a mistake as I drove off because as soon as I had started driving, he grabbed his stomach tight, crouched himself in the passenger seat, doing a back and forth saying that he wasn't feeling good. I offered to open the windows for some fresh air. He said that he just had to take his meds, which he didn't. Saying that I felt uncomfortable is an understatement. I remember thinking that I had screwed up, and that whatever happened, I should not stop under any circumstances. The first thing I did was ask him if he would be okay if I dropped him off at that city's McDonald's. It had a lit parking lot, and there were always people there until midnight. Also, after I would drop him off, I could leave immediately onto a fast road. I think he agreed, but either way, it didn't matter because I wasn't planning on stopping elsewhere. I was already freaked out, though I pretended to focus on the road and I tried to appear as calm as I could. And he kept talking during the whole time. I don't remember in what order it happened exactly, but I do remember him asking if he could look at my nails and I said no because I was driving. He apologized and said that I shouldn't worry because he had never taken advantage of anyone before. He told me that his girlfriend was mad at him, wanted to break up with him if he didn't come back. Asked where I was going, what I was planning to do tonight, if I was planning to have a long, steaming bath, if I had a boyfriend, how we liked to do it. I said that was private and that I didn't want to answer. He nodded, said that he used to be young too until he got arrested. This is not a typo. Young until arrested were his words. He insisted twice that we were followed by cars, asked me if I smoked weed. I said no. He offered me a cigarette, and I said that was nice, but he didn't have to. He left the cigarette on the board. He took out his phone at one point and wanted to show a picture of himself and a picture of his mom. I took a quick glimpse and his phone was broken. Like it had multiple straight black lines of broken pixels, and it was reddish on the left and yellowish on the right, which made the picture really creepy. He got mad at that point because I was just taking a quick glimpse, and he started talking louder, saying that I didn't care about what he was saying. I straight up said, "I am listening, I can't watch because I'm driving." He calmed down immediately, said okay and that he was sorry, and he wanted to show me another picture. He asked if it was my car. I said it was my parents'. Somehow, I didn't want him to think that I was rich or had any kind of money. I'm just a poor, old, in-debt student. Leave me alone. I lied saying that I'd hit a deer last week, which is a lie. My mom had, but that memory came in handy. And I was trying to focus and pay attention because I didn't want to ruin my parents' car. I had hoped he would shut up, but he didn't. At some point, he was just straight up staring at me, and he muttered, "Poor thing." He then straightened up and pointed to a roadside in panic, saying, "I'm at the road sign. Poor road sign." Honestly, I think at that point I was thinking if he ever tried anything, I would crash this car and both of us into a tree, because if I couldn't make it out, neither of us would. I'm ashamed to say this, but I didn't want him to get out of this so easily. He screamed that his name was Archangel Michael. He asked my name and I gave him a fake one. He crouched again, cradling his stomach, with panic going back and forth, saying that I shouldn't know his name. I just said okay, to be honest. That was the only thing I would say in the end. When we came into the city where he had to stop, he asked if I could take him to the train station. It was almost 10 p.m. and I knew there were no trains, no lights, and surely no other cars or human presence. I told him that we had said he would stop at McDonald's. He nodded, "Oh, yes, yes." He said that I was nice. He put a coin on the board next to the cigarette. I stopped in the parking lot, and I did not park. I just stopped right there in the middle of the way, where I felt like I was most visible. He just left saying, "See you later," and I drove away very fast. I never saw or heard of him again. So, I guess I found out why people don't pick up hitchhikers now. As I was driving from Texas to California, around an hour after I'd started my drive, I saw this guy with his dog on Route 66 in the middle of nowhere, at least 3 miles from even the nearest gas station. It was cold and I wasn't in a rush, so I decided to ask him if he wanted a ride. It turns out he was trying to go to a city in Arizona that was only 20 miles off my route, so I offered to let him join in my trip. He was chill, he seemed normal and looked like he cared for his dog. His original story was that he started walking in Mississippi after some BS reason. He lost his job and everything went down the drain, so he hitchhiked to Texas, where he got stuck for 3 months, and was trying to get to his mom so that she could help him out. I bought him some food after asking if he ate, which he said that he hadn't. Okay, them good deed endorphins are hitting just right, and I feel like I'm doing a good thing. After around 200 miles, he tells me that he had just called his mom while I was refilling my gas tank, and apparently she had went to Los Angeles for vacation, so he would just ride with me until I got to California. Okay, kind of weird and sporadic, but I didn't pay it too much mind. We chatted and again, he seemed pretty normal, until we got to Arizona. He started bringing up politics and got a little bit crazy with them. Okay, red flag, but I just asked him to drop it as I don't like to talk about it. He then asked me if I could just drop him off at his 2 girlfriends at his house, which he got after his mom had passed, and he had inherited in a town in Arizona. He said that he had called beforehand and they were expecting him, after 3 months away. Also, he mentions almost like nothing during an earlier conversation that he has mild schizophrenia. I started putting it all together. Oh crap, I don't think he even has a coherent goal of what he's doing. So, when we get to Arizona finally and we're on the last 10 miles to his now one girlfriend which he claims he loves, I start to wonder, am I about to drop a mentally ill man off 2 states away, in the middle of nowhere, where it's about to get freezing temperatures tonight? Oh, and the plot twist, he apparently didn't even have a cell phone. As we got to his girlfriend's house, I told him, hey, do you want me to wait here just in case she isn't home? Thinking that I could at least talk him to letting me drop him off at a nearby homeless shelter or something. And exactly what I thought had happened. I guess I just got the wrong info, and she doesn't live there. My other family members live there though. Yeah, let's just go to California to see my mom. As he sat down in the car, which I had been driving with him for over 9 hours, I told him that maybe he wasn't in the best mental state at the moment, and his mental illness could be playing tricks on him. He flipped his crap out of nowhere, and said that if I brought up his schizophrenia again, he would attack me. He wasn't threatening at all, so I simply said, bro, I don't feel comfortable driving you to California, but I don't want to leave you and your dog in a place that is about to be freezing cold. Do you at least want me to drop you off at a homeless shelter? He then responded, screw you man, I'll walk to Cali myself. We were currently in a mountain town of Arizona, where it's about to be freezing cold and he has no money, food or water, with at least 10 miles down a pretty uninhabited road, and I'm pretty sure that he didn't have family that lived in the house that he went to. And he just left with his dog and I sat there dumbfounded. And then I left as there was nothing more I could have done at this point. I don't know where you are, dude, but I hope you're safe, and you need to get some help for you and your dog's sake. I'm not the best storyteller, so bear with me. Also, posting this from my phone, so apologies for the formatting. This took place last weekend, and the more I think about it, the more creeped out I feel. My dad had told me to get gas from down the road for his old beat-up car, for an exact amount and to get the receipt that he needed it quick because he was on a timer. He had rented a truck and needed to unload it quickly and return it. I didn't have time to change out of my weekend uniform of the rattiest t-shirt and joggers combo. Now, the gas station in question was just a few blocks down the road, but fell into the sketchy part of the neighborhood, but it was also the closest and cheapest. When I pull into the station, it's fairly busy with most pumps occupied. Since I was driving an old car that had a hard time maneuvering, I pulled into the pumps furthest away from everyone, so I minimized the chances of hitting anyone. It took me a while to get the car into position. I had parked too far the first time. By the time I get out, another car had pulled into the pump behind me in the next row. I don't know much about cars, but this was a big black Jeep, an expensive type from a cursory glance. As I walked around my car to the pump, the driver gets out and sorts of looks around when he sees me, and gives me a big smile and wave, which I return with a polite nod and smile, which was really more of a reflex than an actual greeting. I don't really pay too much attention as I start fiddling with the pump, but he's still in my field of vision, as he's just sort of staring at me, looking like he wants to approach. Around this time, I start to feel uneasy. It has also occurred to me that I was far away from the other patrons, and more or less blocked from view by the pumps. The feeling of unease sort of grew, but I don't know why, but I wanted to get out of there ASAP. But to pump gas, I had to turn my back to him, something I didn't want to do. I tried to open the gas tank, but since it's an old car, it seemed to be stuck, and I could see him slowly walk towards me. Luckily, another car had pulled into the pump next to me. Seeing the other car, he seemed to stop his approach and went back to his car, and I quickly started to fill mine up. But as luck would have it, the pump didn't give me a receipt. A quick glance told me the man was still there by his car, staring quite intently at me with a big smile that really creeped me out. I figured quickly I would go and ask inside for the receipt, which would also mean I would be around other people. I lock my car and I quickly walk over to the store, all the while feeling intensely on edge. Inside the store, it's pretty crowded, and as I stand in line, I tell myself that I'm being paranoid and I've watched too many episodes of Criminal Minds. It takes about 10 minutes. I get my receipt, and when I walk out, the car is still there, but I don't see the guy. With my head down, I quickly walk to my car. As I come around, I see he's sort of slouching and leaning in between his car and the pump. As soon as he sees me, he straightens up and quickly starts walking over to me, smiling and waving. "Hey, can you spare some money for food?" I mumbled a quick, "Hey, sorry, no cash," and I got in the car, locking it as soon as I closed the door. Which turned out to be a good thing, because just as the doors had locked, he tried to yank open the passenger door. My heart is literally in my throat as he tries a few more times to open the car door, all the while smiling that creepy smile. At that moment, another car had pulled in behind and honked. God bless this person. Startled, he stepped away from my car. I didn't wait. I peeled away as quickly as I could. I work in the bad part of the city where I'm approached frequently by meth heads and drunks. The difference is, I've never gotten that kind of gut feeling before. For all I know, he really was hungry and wanted some money for food. But he also got out of a really expensive and well cared for looking car, which is also something I realized later on. I figure, at best, I overreacted, and at worst, I could have been shot or abducted. I live in Finland, in a fairly small city, and this happened to me a year ago when I was 14. So, it was a Friday evening, and on every Friday, our mom let us go to the store and buy candy. So me and my 12-year-old sister left her house to go to the store, and it was already dark outside. We made our way to the closest store, which was over a mile away. While walking at some point, there's a man behind us walking the same way. But I didn't think much about it at the time. He could just be going to the same store. So I continued chatting with my sister while the man is behind us, following at a safe distance. We get to the store with no complications, and the man had followed us into the store. We take our time selecting our candy and get to the register to pay. While I was packing the candy to my backpack, I saw this man buying only a single chocolate bar. It's pretty far away to go for just a chocolate bar, I thought. And at this point, my suspicions start to rise for this guy. I go out of the store with my sister and we start making our way back. We walk for a while, then I quickly glance back and the man was still there following us. I took a look at my sister, who seemed totally unaware about the man's presence. We continue our walk, and up ahead of us was an unlit dirt road that continued for a good part of the trip. So I look at my back again, and there is the man still about 60 feet away. At this point, I was almost certain that he was following us, because on our way to the store, he did not walk this part of the way behind us. The dirt road goes through a forest, and it had a curve at the start of it. Once we get to the curve, I look back and notice that the man can't see us. And so I pull my sister to the woods and we duck down behind them. My sister's saying something and I just whisper, "Stay quiet," to her as I wait for the man to come. I could see the man's shadow coming down the road, and he started looking for us from the road. He walked back and forth for a little bit. My heart was racing and I tried to be as quiet as possible. The man didn't find us but continued running forwards. We stayed in the forest for a while before getting the courage to come out. We walked the rest of the way home with no problems, and we got back to our house. We ate our candy and we had a good evening, but that really did bother me for a while, and especially my sister. Thinking about this still gives me the chills, and the thought of getting caught in that situation creeps me out, and I try not to think about it. I wouldn't want to see this guy ever again.